Abilities were a big part of Madden 20. Some people loved them, some people hated them. Some of them really took the game over and were completely overpowered. Some of them were balanced in what we thought they would be. But one thing's for sure, there's definitely some abilities that should not make a return in Madden 21. Now, we already know that abilities as a whole are coming back next year. This is something they've been pretty open about. They want to build upon them. We're going to definitely see new abilities, but I definitely think we will see some go away. So in this video, I'm going to go over 5 abilities that need to be removed for Madden 21 and 5 abilities that I honestly think will be removed or at least altered to the point where they're completely brand new and nothing like the abilities we saw in Madden 20. This is EricRayweather. If you're new to the channel and you want to stay up to date on all the latest Madden news, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you never miss any of the important uploads, including the Madden 21 news that will be dropping very soon. So the first ability I want to go over on this list is going to be a polarizing one, and that is Escape Artist. Yes, I think Escape Artist either needs to be removed or some things seriously need to be done in the game to make this ability what it was supposed to be. Now, this was an ability that got a lot of complaints throughout the year because of just how fast it made your quarterback behind the line of scrimmage. But on the flip side, if you had an actual fast quarterback who didn't have the ability, he felt almost like a slug behind the line of scrimmage and couldn't move. Kyler Murray is a great example of this. Most of the year, he had no abilities. He was just a fast QB. I believe he was, about 92, 91 speed. But he felt like you could not get out of the pocket with him. He felt like you could hardly scramble with him at all because he did not have the Escape Artist scrambling ability. Now, later in the year, they finally put that ability on him, and voila, now it feels like he's fast and can move around. But before that, he was moving slower, scrambling out of the pocket than guys like Russell Wilson, who were only about 82 speed, but because they had that Escape Artist ability equipped, those guys felt infinitely faster. So I think Escape Artist is one of those abilities they're going to take a hard look at this year because a lot of people complained about it on top of other abilities as well, but I think they looked at it as though we're not going to take any abilities out of the game this year, but I think they're going to reassess and say, hey, maybe for QBs we should go back to how it used to be, where your speed and agility kind of determines how quick you can scramble out of the pocket, and I think that's what's best. Abilities as a whole are fine. We can find ways to make new abilities and make exciting abilities, but the Escape Artist one in general is one that just needs a lot of reworking, especially when you combine it with the fact that contains, once people learned how to glitch those out, you couldn't even contain the Escape Artist. So I think going back to the old system for scrambling is something they're going to take a hard look at and say, hey, we're going to use speed and agility and acceleration to determine how fast a QB can get outside the pocket, instead of saying, hey, you need this ability to be able to scramble, otherwise it doesn't matter how fast you are, you're going to get hawked down and you're not really going to be able to do much with your legs. So Escape Artist is the number 1 on the list. Number 2 on the list is Pass Rush Elite. Another polarizing ability, especially later in the year. This ability is definitely the best pass rushing ability in the game. But when you look at it compared to the other abilities like Power Specialist, Finesse Specialist, Edge Threat, all of those are still very powerful as well, but Edge Threat is definitely a tier above all those other things. The block shedding is super quick, and there's nothing you can really do to slow it down. Now, with all of the other pass rushing abilities in the game, I don't really think there's a need for Pass Rush Elite, because it's basically just all of the other pass rushing abilities, but like on steroids. So instead, you can remove Pass Rush Elite and just leave it up to Edge Threat, Power Specialist, and Finesse Specialist, because those still work very well, and they get the job done for what EA intended them to do. They wanted these abilities to make pass rush a lot better this year for a number of other reasons, so you don't really need another tier of pass rushing ability, and one of the main reasons because of this is you can't even double team this ability. It doesn't work. The double team feature in itself is broken. Pass rushers split double teams sometimes quicker than they beat a one-on-one block. Now, that's a whole nother topic we could talk about a whole nother time. Maybe they just, actually fix double team blocking, and then maybe there's no need to remove Pass Rush Elite. But as it stands, Pass Rush Elite is just way too overpowered, and it's really not necessary, seeing as all of the other pass rushing abilities are powerful in themselves. We don't need the super powerful one. I think Pass Rush Elite is one they might look at and say, hey, we can toss this one to the side. It's a little bit too much. Number 3 on the list is another really popular one, and that is Enforcer. Now, Enforcer is a cool ability in the sense that you lay a lot of hit sticks with it. You can lay people out, you can cause fumbles, you can really ragdoll people. It looks cool, people like to use it, people hate when it gets done to them. Now, the problem with Enforcer is I don't believe the Enforcer ever completely worked the way it was intended, because if you look at the description for Enforcer, it says that basically it prevents hit sticks from being broken, because if you try to hit stick somebody in years past, there's a chance that you can break that tackle, right? Especially if you have a big body guy. You can kind of like truck through the hit stick, break it off, and keep running, which is fine. So this year they said, hey, well, the few players that get the Enforcer ability, we're going to make it to where that can't happen. If they hit stick you, you're going to go down. And I'm not sure if a fumble chance increase is really worked into the ability, but it would seem that way. But maybe it's just because it's a hit stick in general. Hit sticks in general increase fumbling, so maybe it's not actually built into the ability, but it's just rather built into the fact that the ability is like a super hit stick. Now, the problem with this is the computer with Enforcer will hit stick for you, and that's why I said even at the beginning of the year this is going to be one of the best abilities in the game, because you can have guys on your defense that you literally can't go near or the computer will lay you out. And the difference between the computer and a human is if the computer goes for a hit stick, they're not missing, they're laying you out. Whereas if you're a human and you click on and try to hit stick, you can get faked out by another good user player. You can mistime it, you can, get juked out or something of that nature. The computer is never going to miss, so it's just basically like an auto hit stick, which just is a huge advantage to that side of the ball, because now it increases your chances of fumbling multiple times in a game. So either they're going to take this one out or they're going to completely rework it, because the click off computer hit sticks are something that I don't think many people believe should be in Madden, because hit sticks should be something that's earned. It should be a user skill. You should have to time it, because they're so rewarding in terms of giving fumbles. There should be some skill and some, risk reward to actually going for that hit stick. When you have a computer guy and you can just run him into position, click him off, and get that suction hit stick, that's not really a good look. I don't think that's how they really ever intended it to be, but I think one of the reasons they left it how it was this year in the game is because the run game was so overpowered, more so than they anticipated it being, and having Enforcers for a while was one of the few ways to kind of combat how overpowered the run game was, so they kind of left it in as a necessary evil. I think next year they're going to definitely, I won't say necessarily remove this one, but I think they're going to rework it to where it's what it's supposed to be. If you have a user and you click on and hit stick, the tackle won't be broken, but I don't think they're going to allow the computer to automatically hit stick for you, because that was really never the purpose of the ability. Number 4 on the list is Human Joystick. This ability, in my opinion, never had any reason to be in the game. Not sure why I was put in the game. Now, if you're a regular player of the game, just play like regular teams on online head-to-head, you never have to worry about this ability. You never saw it. But if you're a CFM/franchise player, or you're an Ultimate Team player, that's where you saw this ability. In CFM, certain players would earn this ability rather quickly, and then in Ultimate Team a little bit later in the year, players were able, once they hit a ratings threshold, to unlock this ability. And then basically what it does is what it sounds like. It makes you a human joystick. It makes you able to change directions in ways that should never be possible. And I really don't understand the point of the ability, because they've put so much of an emphasis on these last couple Maddens and trying to make real player motion matter and make players run more realistically, even though in some ways they failed, in some ways it's been good, in some ways it's been really bad. It hasn't been completely realistic, but 20 was a lot better at it than 19 in that regard. But they've put an emphasis on this real player motion, trying to make players stop and go at a realistic, speed, plant their foot into the ground, realistic player movement. Human Joystick eliminates all of that. It makes player movement completely unrealistic. You can stop on a dime without having to really you can change direction without technically having to change direction. You can just point your joystick one way and your guy completely changes direction without having to plant his foot, without having to slow down, without having to do any type of a slowdown and then accelerate. Now, yes, there's players in the league, Tariq Cohen is a shifty guy, Tyreek Hill, even Dante Hall back in the day, who actually had the nickname Human Joystick. These guys were called those type of players because, yes, they could change direction very quickly and make people miss, but they still had to have realistic movement. They had to have some type of a slowdown, some type of a stop and go. They were just able to accelerate out of that stop and go very quickly. Human Joystick doesn't do that. It literally just makes you change direction as if you're running, as if a human is a joystick, and he doesn't have to stop. He just literally can change that direction. And especially later in the year, especially for online play and Ultimate Team, this has been something we've seen be an issue and make things work that probably rather shouldn't, work that well. I don't think Human Joystick really has a place in the game. I think this is one that they overdid, and I think they will take it out of Madden 21. Last but not least, number 5, I'm going to go with Fastbreak, because again, the way Fastbreak was intended to work was, hey, it's going to make QBs that have this ability more effective on run play. So like Lamar Jackson, for example, is the best, example of this. But the main problem that this has always had is part of the ability makes the defense react slightly late. And maybe at the time they thought this would work and it would just make, a guy like Lamar Jackson be as powerful as he should be. But I think after seeing how this plagued the game in terms of people being able to run QB blast and there never being a true counter to QB blast, yes, you could slow it down from time to time, but at a certain point you're going to break one. The same thing with like wildcat formations, and Human Joystick kind of goes hand in hand with some of these things. If you have a fast break guy or a Human Joystick guy, these types of runs are so much harder to counter because there really is no specific counter for it. So I think with fast break, the fact that it slows the defense down even that split second, I think they're going to look back on this year and say, this wasn't a good look. QB blast was way too easy to run. It was way too mindless, and a lot of people were able to almost do nothing else all game and still have an effective offense, literally just running a QB blast every play, something that would never be able to work in real life if that's all you were bringing to the table. It's supposed to be a compliment, something you have to worry about, not something you run almost every play. So I think they're going to look at fast break and say, hey, if nothing else, they're going to change the ability to not delay the defense. Maybe they give the QB a little bit of a boost after hiking the ball, which could be okay, but the defensive side of things, I think they need to leave that alone, because the defense needs to be able to react if they know something's coming. Anytime you're saying, hey, the defense is going to be slower to react, that's not the answer. I think they see that because of what happened this year. I think fast break either gets removed or they rework the ability. So those are my 5. Let me know your 5 below, what you think needs to be removed. I'm sure some of you think abilities as a whole need to be removed. So let me know below. Check out some of these other videos here, and I will see you guys next time.